Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something today that might just change your life. You got to force yourself to take action. Now, I know that don't sound sexy. I know it ain't the glittery, feel-good, Instagram grata type of motivation, but it's real, see? Too many people sitting around waiting on a sign, waiting on motivation, waiting on the right time. Let me help you out. Ain't no perfect time. The right time is when you decide it is. And that time is right now. Let's be real. Most people spend their whole lives waiting for the right time, waiting for the perfect circumstances, waiting for some kind of magical signal from the universe that says, okay, now it's safe, now everything's lined up, go chase your dream. But let me tell you something that might sting a little. That moment ain't coming. Life doesn't send out invitations. It doesn't roll out red carpets and tell you when to start. The truth is you have to create your own moment. People get caught up in the lie that you need to feel ready before you act, that you need to have all the knowledge, all the experience, all the money, all the confidence before you take that first step. But if that were true, nobody would ever do anything great. See, the people who make it, they're not the ones who waited until they had it all together. They're the ones who started with what they had, where they were, and figured it out along the way. There's this myth that successful people have some kind of secret formula or magic window of opportunity. Nah, what they have is courage. They have the guts to move without a guarantee. They have the fire to take the leap when everyone else is still standing at the edge talking about someday. Let me tell you, someday is not a day of the week. If you're waiting on it, you might be waiting your whole life. Think about how much time people waste saying, I'll do it when I'm more motivated, or I'll start once things calm down, or I'll launch my dream when the timing feels right. But here's the kicker. Life never calms down. There will always be bills. There will always be problems. There will always be fear and doubt and obstacles. You think you're going to magically wake up one day and not be scared? That moment won't show up until you take action despite the fear. We use waiting as a disguise for fear. It feels safer to sit and plan and think and dream rather than risk failure. But what's even scarier than failing is waking up 10 years from now, looking back at all the chances you didn't take because you were waiting. Regret is louder than fear. Regret screams at you when the chance is gone and the clock's run out. You can rewind time, but you can move now. You can take that first step. Imperfect, messy, unsure, but powerful. You don't need the whole staircase to take the first step. You just need the willingness to move. Force yourself to get out of your head and into motion, because action creates clarity. Once you start doing, the path starts revealing itself. You'll never think your way into a perfect plan. You got to move your way into your destiny. So if you've been sitting on an idea, a dream, a goal, stop waiting, start doing, start scared, start broke, start unsure, just start. The moment you take that first step, you take back control. You stop letting fear drive the car. You stop letting life just happen to you, and you start happening to life. That's when everything changes. Not when it's perfect, not when you're ready, but when you say, enough waiting, I'm moving. Because action isn't about feeling ready. It's about deciding you've waited long enough. Let's get something straight. Growth doesn't happen when you're comfortable. If it did, everybody would be successful. Everybody would be living out their dreams, hitting their goals, waking up with fire in their belly. But that's not how it works. Comfort is cozy, it's easy, it's safe, but it doesn't challenge you. When you push yourself through discomfort, you unlock something deep inside you that most people never tap into. You find out who you really are. Not when everything is easy, but when everything feels hard and you still choose to keep going. That's where your power lives, not in the times when it all makes sense, but in the moments when it doesn't, and you move anyway. Discomfort is a sign that you're doing something different. It means you've stepped outside of what you're used to. You're breaking out of the routine, out of the predictable, out of the small life you've always known. And yeah, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel messy. You might doubt yourself. You might feel like an imposter. You might want to run back to what's familiar. But don't. That's the test. That's the place where you're either going to break through or break down. See, most people confuse discomfort with danger. But being uncomfortable doesn't mean you're unsafe. It means you're growing. Think about it. The gym isn't comfortable, but it builds strength. Speaking on stage isn't comfortable, but it builds confidence. Waking up early to work on your dream isn't comfortable, but it builds discipline. You don't grow by doing what's easy. You grow by doing what's necessary, even when it's hard. Every successful person you look up to has learned how to live in that tension. They've trained themselves to lean into the discomfort instead of backing away because they know that's the price of greatness. They force themselves to stretch, to try, to fail, to get back up because they understand that success is never handed to you. It's earned through persistence, through grit, through uncomfortable action. You're not going to wake up one day magically fearless. That's not how it works. You become fearless by doing the thing while you're still scared. You become resilient by showing up when you're tired. You become bold by speaking up when your voice shakes. Courage is not the absence of discomfort. It's moving through it. And the more you do it, the stronger you get. Don't let discomfort fool you into thinking something's wrong. That pressure you feel, that's a sign you're on the edge of a breakthrough. That resistance, that's the doorway to your next level. If you run from it, you stay stuck. But if you face it, fight through it, and stay in it long enough, you rise. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort, and that's exactly why they stay average. They never challenge their limits. They never ask for more. They never chase the dream that scares them a little. But not you. You've got more in you, and yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's the cost of building a life that's bigger than your excuses. So next time it gets uncomfortable, next time it gets hard, awkward, unfamiliar, don't run. That's the moment you lean in. That's the moment you remind yourself that pressure builds diamonds, that resistance builds strength, that your future is being shaped by what you do when things are tough, not when they're easy. Force yourself to push through it. That's where transformation lives. Let's be honest. You're not always going to feel like it. It's just real. There will be mornings when the alarm goes off and you want to hit snooze. There will be days when your motivation is gone, your energy is low, and your mind is full of doubt. And if you're waiting to feel pumped up, inspired, or totally ready before you take action, you'll never move. You cannot depend on feelings to fuel your feelings. Change, discipline doesn't. This is where most people fall off. They think that successful people wake up every day feeling excited to work, to grind, to push. But that's not the truth. The truth is successful people have just mastered the art of doing what needs to be done, even when they don't feel like it. They've learned that action is a choice, not a feeling. They don't ask, do I want to? They say, I said I would, so I will. That's what separates the average from the extraordinary. Average people let their emotions control their actions. Extraordinary people make decisions based on commitment, not convenience. They do the hard stuff when it's not fun, when it's not easy, and when nobody is watching, because they understand that greatness is not built on moods. It's built on momentum. And here's the crazy part. When you start taking action despite your feelings, you'll find that the feeling often follows the doing. You didn't feel like going to the gym, but after you worked out, you're glad you did. You didn't feel like showing up for that meeting, but after you nailed it, your confidence grew. The action creates the motivation, not the other way around. That's the trick. That's the key. It's easy to be motivated when everything is going well, when you're seeing progress, when you're hyped. But the real test comes when it's dark, when it's slow, when you're tired. What do you do then? Do you still show up? Do you still move? If you can force yourself to take action in those moments, you're building something unshakable. You're building grit. You're building the kind of work ethic that can carry you through storms. Look, I'm not saying you got to be a robot. You're human. You're going to have off days. That's normal. But what's not okay is letting those off days turn into off weeks, off months, or worse, off lives. One bad day doesn't define you, but what you do in spite of that bad day. That tells the story of who you are. You don't need to feel inspired to do the work. You need to do the work to stay inspired. Some of the biggest breakthroughs in your life will come from the days you pushed yourself when no one else could see it. When you got up anyway, when you practiced anyway, when you kept going, even though everything in you wanted to quit. Discipline is doing it because you said you would, because your dream deserves it, because the life you want doesn't respond to feelings, it responds to follow through. It's about honoring your future more than your mood. So the next time you don't feel like doing it, whether it's writing, working out, making that call, studying, building your brand, do it anyway. Show your mind who's in charge. Show your future self that you got their back. Because every time you move when you don't feel like it, you become a little stronger, a little more unstoppable, a little more in control of your destiny. That's how you win, not by waiting for the perfect move, but by choosing to move regardless of it. That first step, man, it's the toughest one you ever take. It's the step that separates the dreamers from the doers. It's the moment when all your talk, all your plans, all your ideas are put to the test. And let me tell you something, most people never take it. They stand at the edge of their potential, looking at what could be, and they freeze. Why? Because that first step is filled with uncertainty. It's filled with fear. It's where your excuses get loud and your self-doubt shows up to the party. But here's the truth. You don't need to know everything. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a green light from the world. What you need is the courage to start. You build confidence by thinking about doing something. You build it by doing it. That first move may not be perfect, but it's necessary because nothing changes until something moves. See, the first step is uncomfortable because it takes you out of what's familiar. It's like standing at the bottom of a staircase in the dark. You can't see all the steps, and that's scary. But you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see enough to move your foot. And once you do, the next step becomes clearer. And then the next. That's how momentum works. It starts with one small, brave decision. And that decision shifts everything. People wait for clarity, for certainty, for a sign. But clarity doesn't come before the action. It comes because of the action. You want to know what works? Start. You want to learn faster? Start. You want to grow stronger? Start. The answers you're looking for, the path you're hoping to see, it reveals itself as you move, but it stays hidden if you stay still. Let's be real. That first step might not be glamorous. It might be messy. You might stumble. You might trip. You might even fall flat on your face. But falling is not failure. Staying down is. And if you're willing to take that step, to move without a guarantee, you're already ahead of most people because you're in the arena, you're in the game. You're not just sitting in the stands talking about what you might do someday. Think about how many dreams die before they ever get started. Not because the dream wasn't good, not because the person didn't have talent, but because they never took the first step. They waited, they doubted, they let fear win. But you don't have to be that person. You have the power to move when it's scary. That's what leaders do. That's what winners do. And here's the beautiful part. Once you take that first step, something shifts inside of you. You prove to yourself that you're capable, that you're not a prisoner to fear, that you can trust yourself. And that small act of courage, it snowballs. It builds belief. It builds momentum, and momentum is a powerful force. Once you start moving, it gets easier to keep moving. It's like once it's going, you just have to keep it steady. You don't have to take a giant leap. You don't need to make $1 million move. You just need to do something, one step, one action, one decision that says, I'm serious about this. That's how the journey begins. That's how the dream becomes real. So whatever's been holding you back, whatever voice in your head is telling you you're not ready, silence it by moving. Prove it wrong by acting. Take that first step. And when you do, you'll discover that the hardest part wasn't the step itself, it was the waiting. Comfort feels good, doesn't it? It's warm, it's safe, it's familiar, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. See, comfort is sneaky. It makes you believe you're okay right where you are. It tells you you don't need to push any harder, you've done enough. Just relax. And while there's nothing wrong with rest, there's a big difference between resting and settling. Comfort is the enemy of progress because it convinces you to stop growing. It keeps you in a routine that's just good enough to survive but not bold enough to thrive. Let me tell you something. Nobody reaches their full potential in their comfort zone. It just doesn't happen. Every breakthrough, every transformation, every level up in your life will require you to stretch. And stretching hurts. It's uncomfortable. But so is staying stuck in a life you know you've outgrown. The truth is, growth requires discomfort. It demands sacrifice. It pushes you to show up when it's hard, to face what scares you, to step into the unknown. And that's why most people never get there, because they'd rather stay comfortable than face the pain of change. But here's what they don't realize. Comfort has a cost. It may not cost you right away, but over time it chips away at your potential. It robs you of your dreams. It whispers maybe later, until later turns into never. People think failure is what stops them, but most of the time it's not failure, it's comfort. It's being just successful enough to not be desperate, just healthy enough to not be worried, just okay enough to stop trying for great. And that just enough mindset is dangerous because it lulls you to sleep. It convinces you that average is acceptable when deep down you know you're built for more. You see, being uncomfortable is a sign that you're growing. It's proof that you're stepping into something new. So when things get tough, when the road gets rocky, don't run back to what's easy. Don't retreat into the familiar. That's not where your future is. Your future is in the stretch. Think about anything worth having: strong relationships, a healthy body, a thriving business, a meaningful life. It all comes with some level of discomfort. There's discipline, there's rejection, there's failure, there's sacrifice. But that's the investment you make to become the person you were meant to be. That's the price of greatness. And guess what? It's worth it. Every time you choose to lean into discomfort, you grow a little stronger. You build character. You build confidence. You prove to yourself that you don't need everything to be easy to make progress. That's power. That's resilience. That's where true confidence comes from. Not from winning all the time, but from walking through the fire and realizing comfort will try to trap you. It will try to make you forget what you're capable of. But you've got to be smarter than that. You've got to recognize when you're coasting. You've got to call yourself out when you're playing small. Because deep down, you already know when you're holding back. You already know when you're playing it safe. So the next time you feel uncomfortable, good. Let that be your sign. Let that be your signal that you're in the right place. Because comfort didn't build empires. Comfort didn't change lives. Discomfort did. Discomfort is where the growth is. It's where the lessons are. It's where your next level is waiting. Don't let comfort rob you of the life you were meant to live. Chase the challenge, embrace the awkward, lean into the stretch, and force yourself every single day to leave the safety of the shore and swim toward the unknown. That's where the real magic happens. There's a moment every single day where you're faced with a choice, stay the same or take control. Let life keep happening to you, or stand up and say, I'm done letting my circumstances decide my future. And that right there, that's the difference between people who drift and people who drive. Because let me tell you something that most folks don't realize: your life doesn't change until you decide to change it. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. We live in a world that's always telling us to wait. Wait until you have more time. Wait until you feel better. Wait until someone gives you permission. But the truth is, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to hand you the life you want. That's your job. That's your responsibility. You have to look at where you are, be honest about it, and then make a decision. I'm not staying here. See, taking control starts with ownership. It means no more blaming your boss, your past, your parents, your environment, your education, or your luck, because as long as you keep pointing the finger, you give away your power. But when you take responsibility, even for the things that weren't your fault, you take your power back. You stop playing victim and start playing visionary. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. And that's not always easy. Taking control means making hard decisions. It means saying no to distractions, to comfort, to people who don't believe in your vision. It means doing what needs to be done even when nobody claps for you, even when nobody's watching, even when it's lonely. Because the journey to the next level isn't crowded. It's filled with people who were willing to take full responsibility for where they're going. The craziest part? You don't even have to change your entire life overnight. You just have to start steering one small choice, one small shift, one small win that reminds you that you're in charge. Maybe it's waking up earlier. Maybe it's finally starting that project you've been avoiding. Maybe it's making that call, applying for that job, setting that boundary. Whatever it is, just move. Just do something that sends a message to your mind. We're not stuck. We're in control. And once you get that first win, the fire starts to spread. You begin to feel something waking up inside you. It's confidence. It's power. It's the realization that you've been sitting in the driver's seat the whole time. You just hadn't touched the wheel. And now that you are, nothing can stop you but you. There will still be storms. There will still be roadblocks. But when you've taken control, you don't panic. You don't give up. You just adjust the route and keep driving. Because when you made the decision to own your life, quitting isn't an option. Backing down isn't in your vocabulary. You're not just surviving anymore. You're building something. And let's be clear, taking control doesn't mean you have to have all the answers. It means you're willing to search for them. It doesn't mean you'll never fall. It means you'll always get back up. Because this is your life, your dream, your responsibility. And that kind of power, that kind of mindset, that's unstoppable. So stop waiting for a perfect moment. Stop waiting for someone to come along and fix things. Be the fix. Be the force. Be the one who says, I may not have it all figured out, but I refuse to sit still and let life happen to me. From this moment forward, move like your future depends on you, because it does. Force yourself to take control and never give it back.